I'm Francesca Maxime, and this is Currents. On this September 11th, remembering those lost.
They gave their lives so that we can enjoy ours. And I don't want to forget that gift.
And it's a walk through Carroll Gardens with Our Lady of Sorrows.
The feast is actually the 15th of September, and it commemorates the 7 sorrows of Our Lady, the trials that she went through as being the mother of Jesus.
Plus, we'll get a preview of the Pope's trip to Lebanon when we sit down with Brooklyn's Maronite bishop.
The state just today decided to call off the day for everybody, for school, for work, for everybody. The Army is on high alert, and everybody seems to be concerned about his safety except for him.
Well, good evening, and thank you so much for joining us. Liz Fabulous has the night off. Well, a day of remembrance, a day of memories, a day of honor. At the World Trade Center site Tuesday, remembering a tragic day and the bravery on display 11 years ago when terrorists flew planes into the Twin Towers. Many died that day, but so many more were saved because of the heroes who rushed into action. Heroes who dropped everything and answered the emergency calls, including 2 men, Michael Ballone, a medic specializing in trauma care, and firefighter Bob Barrett of FDNY's Ladder 20. On that day, the 2 men were strangers, but now they are friends for life. They talked earlier with our news director, Ed Wilkinson.
Bob and Mike, welcome to the show. I know it's a very busy day for you guys. 11 years since the terrorist attacks on the World Trade Center, and you guys were right there back in the beginning, and you were there today at the memorial services. What was it like for you, Bob, to be down there today?
Sad, but bittersweet. I mean, it was great to see the few remaining families that I keep in contact. And it was being down there at the memorial reminded me of just what these gentlemen did for us. They gave their lives so that we can enjoy ours. And I don't want to forget that gift.
Yeah. Well,
so I want to be remembered always of what these gentlemen did for us.
Never forget has become like
Never
the rallying
forget.
cry.
Right, exactly.
Mike, what was it like for you to be there today?
I feel the same way, but on another note, I miss the guys that I work with every day. And for me, that's something that I'll never forget also. I mean, there's so many guys that I work with on a daily basis that have died since then, you know, from the
Sure.
different toxins that they inhaled and all the different disabilities that they incurred from working down there. And, you know, they've given up their lives from, you know, trying to make things easier and better for us.
Sure. Take us back 11 years ago. Bob, you're retired now from the fire department, but you were on you were off that day.
I was off that day.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, my wife called me. I didn't even know what was going on, and she said to me, "Bob, do you know what's going on?" I said, "No." She said, "Put on the TV." And the first plane had hit Tower 1. I immediately called my firehouse. I said, "Are the guys there?" I knew they were there, but I wanted to, you know, make sure. And they said, "Yeah, they're there." We commandeered a city bus, and we said, "Take us to the site." It wasn't easy getting in that day. People were evacuating the city. There was abandoned cars. So I got there about 11 o'clock. And by then, the first 2 towers had fallen. And it was like a landscape that I've never seen before. If you recall, it was a beautiful day that day, just similar to today.
Yes.
And today, by the way, is a Tuesday. That was a Tuesday. There's so many, you know, there's so many coincidental things.
Yeah.
And when we got there, like I said, there was just another landscape. And I was hoping beyond hope that I could rescue somebody. Maybe a guy from my own company, maybe anybody.
How many men were lost from your company?
Well, there was 15 lost, and 4 fire trucks. Because they were outside in the front of the firehouse when the alarm came in, and the chief was with them. And
you were close by there. You were in Manhattan downtown.
And they knew there was something wrong, a jumbo jet coming down Lafayette Street. When they heard the bang, the chief said, "Go." Nobody returned. We lost 15 firemen and 4 fire trucks.
And Mike, that's when you first met Bob, right? Down there?
Yeah, I met him. We were both working on the pile. We were just digging, looking, searching, and he said he was looking for his guys. I just said I was just.
Why were you there?
I was a medic. I just came in on a fire truck that was loaded with doctors and police officers.
Mm-hmm.
There was about 20 guys on this fire truck, and they came in over the BQE
Mm-hmm.
through the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
And this group of firemen said, "Listen, let's just spread out, see what we can do. Who can we help?"
Mm.
And that's when I ran into Bob, and we just
You guys have been friends ever since?
We've been friends
we
ever since. Yeah. Yeah,
we never split up since.
we started traveling. We realized we used to stay in St. Paul's Chapel, which is across the street from the World Trade Center.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to read all the letters from the school kids.
Mm-hmm.
Kids would send us letters like, we want you to rebuild the World Trade Center, but this time hide it and don't tell anybody where it is. And
Yeah.
some kids filled an entire page with words we couldn't even read, but you knew that they were behind you.
And they were sincere,
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
knew that they really meant what they were writing.
Well, the kids really mean something to you, Mike.
Oh,
because
sure.
You,
I just did a presentation this afternoon in Millwood High School.
Uh-huh. And you've actually founded an organization that goes out
Yeah,
and
we-
talks with
we-
kids.
yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
We call it TRACK Team, Trauma Response Assistance for Children. There was a lot of organizations at the time for the adults. There was really nothing for the kids.
Mhm.
And we thought this would be a good organization for children to
Mhm.
maybe give their outlet
Mhm.
to see, how they feel.
Sure.
And it kind of it kind of lasted all this time. I mean, there are still kids that
Mhm.
come to us and want to, give their
What,
opinions.
what have been the long-term effects on you? Having worked down there at 9/11 and the recovery pit for over 200 days, what did that do to you?
I still have a lot of physical problems.
Mhm.
I have a lot of damage to my lungs, a lot of damage to my airway.
Mm-hmm.
I don't breathe properly. I can't sleep properly. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I take a lot of medicine.
Sure.
Put on a lot of weight.
But you're giving back now to the kids and trying to help them cope with trauma. How about you, Bob? What has been the long-term effects?
Well, I have breathing problems also.
Yeah.
I don't want to complain because I've seen so many people worse than I am, and I
Sure.
just,
Yeah.
and going out and speaking to kids is a medicine for me also,
Sure.
because when you search for an answer,
Mm-hmm.
it not only helps the kids, it helps you.
Yeah. Well, you two guys have certainly turned the negative into a positive. You've done a great job, and I want to thank you so much. We never forget.
We also have to remember we have a great base at home.
Sure.
I have my wife,
families.
I have my
Families.
children. Without my children, I mean,
Sure.
he has great children. I have great children.
Good
we have
parents.
and
yeah.
thank God you're all here.
Exactly. So without that, what do you have?
Yeah,
Thanks so much for being with us today.
that's our
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Thank you for having us.
Such compelling stories. Well, don't go anywhere. There's much more Currents straight ahead. Welcome back to Currents. I'm Francesca Maxime. As Pope Benedict prepares to travel to Lebanon, the Grand Mufti there says that he hopes the visit will strengthen coexistence between Christians and Muslims in the region. The Grand Mufti tells the Daily Star newspaper that the current situation in the Arab world is unstable, but he expects the Pope's visit to reassure Christians and enhance cooperation with Muslims in Lebanon and in the region. The Pope will meet with Muslim leaders on Saturday. Please join us for NET's live coverage of the Pope's visit beginning this Friday at 11 a.m. and later in tonight's show. Maronite Catholic Bishop Gregory Mansour of St. Maron of Brooklyn joins us for a preview of that trip. Well, the words of religious cooperation coming out of Lebanon stand in contrast to legal actions being taken against churches here in the U.S. A complaint to the IRS about a New York church is now being followed by another complaint, this time against a church in El Paso, Texas. The group Americans United for Separation of Church and State says that the Sunday bulletin published by St. Raphael Church in El Paso violates the law. The bulletin contains a message urging parishioners to vote against President Obama in November. Now, tax law states that churches cannot endorse or oppose candidates. St. Raphael's pastor has apologized. But Americans United says New York's Church of St. Catherine of Siena has done the very same thing in their bulletin. No response yet from that church, and the IRS has not commented. Meanwhile, Archbishop Gregory Aymond of New Orleans is urging Catholics to choose candidates in November who best conform to the church's teachings. In a Sunday letter to 100 parishes, the Archbishop directs all Catholics to the voter handbook issued by the U.S. Bishops' Conference for guidance. Aymond says that all Catholics should think before they vote. The handbook is titled Forming Conscience for Faithful Citizenship. From Massachusetts, a same-sex couple there is suing the Diocese of Worcester over a canceled real estate deal. The plaintiffs say the diocese ended negotiations for the sale of a former retreat center over concerns that same-sex marriages may be conducted in the building. The lawsuit claims the diocese is discriminating against the two men because of their sexual orientation. The church says that negotiations ended because the men are having trouble with their financing. Well, a place once infamous for persecution is now graced with a magnificent cathedral dedicated to Our Lady of Fatima. Cardinal Angelo Sedano, the Dean of the College of Cardinals, dedicated the cathedral in the city of Karaganda in Kazakhstan. The city once was the center of a web of gulags from the old Soviet era. Alexander Solzhenitsyn detailed the terrors at Karaganda in his Nobel Prize-winning book, The Gulag Archipelago. More than 1,500 people, including Catholics, Orthodox Christians, and Muslim leaders, attended the dedication mass on Sunday. Well, finally, the King's Bible has been auctioned in England. It is a Bible that once belonged to Elvis Presley, given to him in 1957 as a gift for his first Christmas in his new home, Graceland. The Bible includes notes and thoughts handwritten by Elvis himself. The winning bid topped $94,600. Well, don't go anywhere. There's much more Currents straight ahead. Coming up, the Pope is heading to Lebanon. Brooklyn's Maronite bishop joins us for a preview.
And now when the Holy Father comes, the entire region, Christian and Muslim, is going to come out to meet him.
Welcome back to Currents. I'm Francesca Maxime. The Pope's historic journey to Lebanon is the culmination of a process that started 2 years ago with a synod of bishops in Rome. Maronite Catholics make up the largest percentage of the Christian population in Lebanon. Maronite Catholic Bishop Gregory Mansour of the Eparchy of St. Maron here in Brooklyn recently sat down with our Liz Fabulous. They talked about the trip's purpose and how, with tensions high and security tight in the region, the Holy Father is not afraid.
Bishop, we've been hearing so much about the Pope's visit to Lebanon, and of course, aside from the historic value of it, the concern for the Holy Father's safety is definitely at the fore of many of our minds. What type of safety precautions, in your experience, do you think are being taken ahead of this visit?
The state just today decided to call off the day for everybody, for school, for work, for everybody. The Army is on high alert. And everybody seems to be concerned about his safety except for him.
He doesn't seem in any of the interviews.
He has not budged, especially what's going on, unfortunately, in Syria between the government forces and the rebel forces and the Christians being caught in between, and some of the skirmishes coming over the border in Lebanon. From the very beginning, there was no doubt he is going to Lebanon.
And I believe the Holy Father's mission has been clear. As you've mentioned, you're not traveling to the region this time around.
No.
However, in the brief time that we have here, can you explain what is the true purpose of the Pope's visit to Lebanon this time?
There's two purposes. One, to visit a region that is still in a harmonious balance between Muslim and Christian. Mm-hmm. And the second reason is to sign and give the apostolic exhortation that took place 2 years ago with the synod in Rome, gathering all the Middle Eastern bishops all the Catholic bishops, as well as representatives from Orthodox and Evangelical Christianity, as well as Shiite, Sunni, Druze, the Muslim sects, and Jewish representatives of the region. And that synod took 3 weeks. I was privileged to be there, as well as all Eastern Catholic bishops who have a foothold in the Middle East. And so he will sign the document, which will be a little encouragement, a little challenge, and probably like a roadmap for us to continue our ecumenical and Christian work.
You spoke of the many faiths that are gathered in that region, and there are about 1 million Catholics in Lebanon. Based on my research, the majority follow a number of different rites of the Catholic Church, mostly Maronite. Bishops of the region met to discuss the theme, the Catholic Church in the Middle East, Communion and Witness. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, that was the synod I spoke about. It was called Communion and Witness. And our own Patriarch Bashara Peter Rai, wrote after 1 year of service as a Patriarch, Communion and Love, Sharika wa Mahabba. And he used those words on purpose because he felt he could attract Christians who are not Catholic, Muslims, Shiite and Sunni, and he felt he could draw them together on his pastoral visits when he goes. And now when the Holy Father comes, the entire region, Christian and Muslim, is going to come out to meet him.
There's an urgency based on everything I've read and in conversations that I've had with you ahead of this interview over regional political situations. There needs to be a deliberation about that. How are Catholic faith-based leaders in the region going to gather with the Pope in order to facilitate these deliberations and hopefully come to some kind of understanding as to how we can foster more communion?
Well, first of all, it's an amazing reality that there is so much communion there already. In the Catholic schools, there are 360 Catholic schools, just talking about Lebanon. 28% of the people that go to those Catholic schools are non-Christian. So it would be Muslim, Shiite, Sunni, or Druze. The 5 major Catholic communities work very closely together, of course with the leadership of the Maronite Patriarch, in all kinds of endeavors, from schools, universities, nursing homes, drug rehabilitation centers, homes for the handicapped, homes for the elderly. The spirit of Christianity is alive and very well in Lebanon. And in the Middle East, the Christians are the caregivers. They're the ones who have lived this communion and have lived this witness and still do.
You've also expressed concern, though, that there is a considerable exodus of Christians from the region.
Yes.
and a sort of disconnect with the universal church. Are those also issues that are going to be addressed? It's a very short visit for the Pope next week, so it's going to be difficult for him to cover so many challenges in that short time.
I'm so eager to his words, and everybody will listen to very carefully, because the Holy Father has a way, even when he comes in very difficult situations, as he did when he visited the Holy Land, he knows how to say something to someone who he can give them a challenge with a sweet invitation. And he'll do that for the Catholic community, he'll do that for the greater Christian community, he'll do that for the Muslim community as well. So, but how can we stop the exodus from the Middle East? That's up to us also in the West, to assist them. I work very hard.
In what way?
In their hospitals, in their nursing homes, in drug rehabilitation centers, in their high schools and colleges and schools, to help it be affordable for the. Right now, there's 60,000 refugees from Syria coming, many of them Christian. They'll be absorbed. We absorb the Assyrian and the Chaldean and the Syriac Catholics and Orthodox from Iraq. So
is there a lack of information, a lack of understanding?
Most people in the West have no idea what Christians. They have no idea how their brother and sister Christians are really the salt of the earth, and how they get up every day in their old cars and drive as nurses or as teachers and do it day in and day out, and do it on pennies. And they do it because they really love our Lord Jesus Christ, and they are not going to leave. They don't want to leave.
So we have a great responsibility to become more
Just
informed.
to support them. Yeah, be informed. Support them. Right now there's a big political, like we have Republicans and Democrats here. In the Middle East there's a big split between what approach to take. Some people want to side with the Syrian government and Iran, and some want to side with the Western countries, America and Saudi Arabia. And so that's dividing the people, naturally the people of Lebanon.
Right.
They call the two groups the March 14th and the March 8th group, like our Democrats and Republicans.
Yes.
However, what's most amazing is that something is still very, very beautiful in this fragile democracy that is Lebanon, where Christians and Muslims live on equal footing.
Bishop, let's leave it on that very encouraging note, knowing full well that there is so much more that we need to know and we need to do in the region. But thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate
Liz.
it. Thank you.
Well, stay tuned. There's much more currents right after the break. When we return, a historic feast marches through Carroll Gardens.
75, 80 years ago, most of the people coming from Mola di Bari, but the second and third generation is still here, and we keep, this tradition.
On September 15th, the church celebrates the Feast of Our Lady of Sorrows. But in Carroll Gardens, the celebration took place, as it always does, on the second Sunday in September, and we were there to take it all in.
Today it's Sacred Hearts St. Stephen's Church, and we're waiting for the procession of Our Lady of the Sorrows coming back from the 3-hour procession that they just had. Then they will have fireworks, and then we will begin the Mass.
The original people that came from Italy, they brought the Madonna here, and we tried to continue what those people did.
The feast is actually the 15th of September, and it commemorates the 7 sorrows of Our Lady, the trials that she went through as being the mother of Jesus. And it is a time when we recognize that she is the mother of sorrows, but we also recognize the joy, too, that she had in overcoming the sorrows of her life.
It happens over here because 75, 80 years ago, most of the people coming from Mola di Bari, the hometown, which is the one I come from, settled over here, and they became longshoremen, skilled people. Eventually they moved on, but the second and third generation is still here, and we keep, this tradition.
For this particular group of people from the Badi area, this is their patron saint, the protectress. So for them, they have a tremendous devotion to Our Lady. Wherever they are, they bring this with them.
It's a tradition to come down and see Our Lady of Sorrows come in after processing the streets. My parents were Italian, but they didn't come from Bari, they came from Naples. But it's a tradition I've had for many years.
Well, that is all for tonight. Be sure to join us again on Wednesday for the latest on the Pope's journey to Lebanon. We'll also take you to a candlelight vigil in Bay Ridge in honor of those lost on September 11th. For all of us here at Currents, I'm Francesca Maxime, and we leave you with sights and sounds from Tuesday's ceremony at Ground Zero.